Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the SRC Podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, is the one and only Double R, Mr. Rob Reese. Good evening, my friend. How are we?
All good, sir. All good. Welcome back.
Good to hear. Good to hear. We are unfortunately missing the great bookie John Harris.
Still celebrating an Abravan win is the rumour.
I know it doesn't come along very often. See, it doesn't come along. You know, if they had a head coach that engages with a fan podcast, maybe they pick up a bit. But who knows? Who knows? So, little bit of action to dive into this week, just a little bit. So, it wasn't the greatest of Thursday night TV games, but my God, it threw up a lot. I mean, Llandovery against Bridgend, I think we all we all went with Llandovery. It was as simple as that. It weren't a foregone conclusion, but it is what it is at this point of the season. Well, I say at this point to the top end of Welsh domestic rugby with Llandovery are concerned. So a comfortable 35-17 win for Llandovery in the end. They really raced away in that first half. What was it, 28-5, 28-8, something? No, 28-5, something like that. It was quite a gap. Tian Sparrow picking up 2 tries. Man of the match as well, if I'm remembering right, starting the game. So, 5 tries to the good. Llandovery's first 6-pointer of the season. I know Euros is very happy with that first half, less so with the second. Some of the talking points then. A rather unusual red card. What's your take on everything?
This is such a difficult one. One is unusual, but 2 is probably one of the few incidents where, unless you're picking something up on camera that you can unequivocally, whatever you can guarantee that he said it. Like, it's not hearsay. It's the man in the middle's opinion. All of a sudden, it's a bit like in the olden days, right? Where you say, "Oh, Martin threw a punch." Well, if the referee saw Martin throw a punch, but no one else did, well, you've got to go by that word. If a homophobic slur is said, I mean, they've got a player that they believe have said it because they've delivered a red card. There's one of those ones. The referee wouldn't have been able to deliver a red card if he hadn't heard it, unfortunately. So it's such an unusual circumstance, and as you say, they just managed to capture it and go from there. But it's one of those what happened next sort of questions you sort of get on Question of Sport, because what has been allegedly said, you've got to go. You have got to go. But I mean, Christ, in terms of hearings, let's move this on and say Corey Baldwin's stamp the previous week. That's on camera. You can see it. Everything is there. When something like this happens, you've got a referee's report. You've got the player who will write the letter in his disciplinary hearing, or the club will write the letter in some aspect. And depending on how much your opposition want to push for it, there will be a letter from opposition. Obviously, with those 3 accounts taken in, you can start to corroborate what information is truthful, what may not be, etc. But yeah, it's good to see that it was sanctioned on field. I'll be honest. Such weird circumstances to see someone get sent off.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think this, whilst not a good thing to happen in the game, is probably a good thing for the sport to see. And it because it's been a while where respect the ref has kind of faded slightly. And I think this is one of them instances where it kind of puts it back in line with the ref is the man. If he sees or hears something, it doesn't matter about what the other 30 men on the pitch. Doesn't matter about the hundreds or thousands or even tens of thousands watching. It's all about that one man, and it's his word, or one woman, and it's their word against everyone, and you have to go by that.
Yeah,
and that's literally what it comes down to. If we focus on some of the gameplay, obviously Llandovery are very much the usual selves. They can pull it out from anywhere. But Bridgend, I think they're going to be quite disappointed they didn't really fire as many shots, especially in the first half.
Yeah, they had enough of the ball as well. It wasn't like Llandovery completely starved them, but it was very much, and John sort of touched this a bit with Cardiff and Aberafon last week. Bridgend would spend 5 minutes in Llandovery's half and walk away with nothing. Llandovery would literally go up the other end and score. And they were so relentless on that, but it's just that sort of ease of transition. Bridgend at the moment is struggling to contain a side, and everything is like going through the motions. As a coach and as a player, you want to make, if you lose, you got to be saying, boys, we made them fight hard for that. You know, we made the team that's on top of the table, been the best side in Wales for the last 5 or so years. We made them fight hard for that at their own place. Yes, we didn't execute as we wanted to, and we didn't get the result, but we pushed them and we made them work for it. And I just didn't get that feeling from Bridgend this week. And it happened the same against Pontypool to a degree. It's that sort of, we all praised their signings and what was going on, and yes, the allocation of Ospreys is minimal, but it's quality when they're there. And they just seem to fade that little bit, and they don't seem to be putting the pressure into the game and managing it, and they can't turn that into points or momentum at the moment, because it's almost like, you know, you've scored 17 points, as you said. I mean, I think Llandovery's foot was firmly off the gas in that second half. It was just really poor. But equally, from Bridgend's perspective, is like they let teams get too far ahead before they score. They did it against Aberafon. They were 16 points down at the half and pulled it back. This is the difference for me. They've done it against Llandovery year and got trounced. And it was a very similar scoreline. You know, if you go all the way back to round 2, 34-17, so just the 1 point difference, was Ebervale, and that was exactly the same. It was a 34-3, and then all of a sudden, a couple of tries during a sin bin period just changes it up, sort of thing, in that game. And it's, I want to see them apply that bit of pressure and just continue the good momentum, finishing it off. Because at the moment, they just don't seem to be able to cut through. They don't seem to be able to build pressure. And then equally, when that pressure comes back at them, they're wilting straight away. And you can't do that. You know, it's one of those ones, is when your side is defending on the 5 metre line, it's, you want to see your side putting in the big tackles, making a side go 15, 20 phases. Don't give away your penalties. Don't give away an easy try. Fight for it. If Llandovery's going to the post, boys, get them there. But in fairness, we held out for 20 phases. Let's go again. But it's like 2 or 3 phases, Llandovery were in. And like I said, the bonus point was up. I thought Johan Hughes was kicking really well off the tee. And they just took them out of sight. And they just went from there. And whether it was a foot off the gas or whether Euros is still struggling with his substitutions, because, like I said, there's 9 Scarlets boys in this Llandovery 23. A lot of those, was it only 2 of them senior Scarlets? Is it just Jack and Tommy at the moment?
Not even Jack. It's just Tommy.
So it's like, you're looking at it, and even if we say, well, Jack's been playing senior rugby towards the end of last season, everybody else is very much age grade. So it's like you can understand straight away where that bit of continuity is lost off the bench for Llandovery. But yeah, they said their first 6-pointer, and I'll be honest, we mentioned it the other week about they'll kick on. You know, that loss against Ebervale is going to be they like putting streaks together. And I think now they've sort of settled a bit more. They said this is the first game where they've gone away. The Swansea game at Church Bank was high scoring on both accounts. This is a step in the right direction now. You know, they've scored similar amount of points, but they've got the 6-pointer.
Yeah. So, well done to Llandovery for that first 6-pointer of the season. That is the one thing that is kind of holding them back in that race for first of the minute, is the bonus points. That extra 6th one is counting hard when you look at the table at the minute. Only 1 point between them and Ebbw Vale, with Ebbw Vale a game in hand. Both lost the same amount of games. I mean, I'm just looking at Bridgend and we're thinking there's loads of positivity off the field. The setup they've created with the college, their own individual pathway. Obviously, lots of hype around the coaching setup. Scott Ball. It's just not transferring, and it is really worrying. I mean, they sat 8th in the table. 8 of 10. We do have to keep saying, you say 8 to people and thinking, oh, it's not too bad. It's out of 10. You're fighting relegation if there was relegation. But and it doesn't look again easier. The break can't come soon enough for them. That's all that can really be said. On to our Saturday fixtures, and we'll get John's favourite team out of the way right off the back. Aberavon at home to RGC. Now, watching the highlights of this, I was okay. We know RGC have got a real problem in defence, but it looked like Aberavon had quite similar problems as well. I mean, we know how great RGC can be in attack, but they were just picking off mistakes. I mean, I think it was Louis Williams' try. I mean, there was like 2 or 3 opportunities to put him down, and it just did not happen. Like, I love individual brilliance and all that. This was a lot more poor tackling than it was individual brilliance. So, 26-21 at the half to Aberavon. They go. They managed to get the win in the end. They won the first half by 5 points, the second half by 5. So 45-35 it finished. Just missing out on that, that 6th bonus point we've already talked about. But, yeah, it's clear issues for both sides. But, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tries for Aberavon. I mean, you got to take the positives where you can.
Yeah, I think for Aberavon, this is what we were looking for, is a bit more consistency with attack, but also, just like I say, you've got to string some wins together, especially your home fixtures. Towards the end of last season, and even John said this as well, is Aberavon's issues have come around defence, and that it's a midfield channel. But one thing that you can't coach is these individual errors. Like you said, 3 or 4 people slipping off a tackle, as much as it goes down as a fantastic try, equally, in an analytical world, you have to look at it from a poor defensive set. Your shape. If that many people are tackling, there's gonna be shape. They're out of shape because they've broken you in such a way that 3 people are having to miss a tackle. But yeah, I think from Abraham's perspective, as he said, they just did enough in both halves. Got that bit of the last laugh just to take it away, and RGC would be disappointed with not picking those extra points up. I'll be honest. Slipping out, that 7-point gap is a big one, and especially at the moment because they've conceded 45 points, so you're not going to get a win. You're on the road, and they've scored 35 points. So you're like, well, you've got to try and take what you can here. I mean, it's enough to that it's kept them off the bottom. They haven't quite dropped down that far, but yeah, I think it's one of those weird games again. It's like RGC drag people into a game. They drag them into their own game, but they're no good at their own game. It is a bizarre sort of scenario, but Aberavon on a sort of side at the moment, I'll be honest, probably don't mind a slightly more open game. I don't think their set piece is as strong as it has been, over the last 10, 15 years. Due to a few, changes up front. And they've got a lot of talented backs, and yet sort of that young, raw, excitable talent that is wanting to get into the game, so it can punish sides. There's a lot of space in games like this, and it's one of those ones. I think Aberavon will be pleased with the way, the result, the end goal. They've got 5 points out of it, and it shoots them massively up the table, which is what we were saying last week, is one win for Aberavon moves them up the table. I think they were either 7th or 8th last week. You know what I mean? Like, at the moment, they're 5th, which doesn't sound like a huge jump, but then you only got to look, and it's like 3 points off 3rd. So another win could very much take them into, proper playoff contenders, that sort of home semi-final contention, which in the context of this, is winning another home game. Now, Tag is not an easy place to go to. It's another win. It just builds the confidence in the team. And that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, watching the highlights, the set piece, I do agree it's not as good as it has been, but it worked pretty well in this game, especially the scrum. They were moving forward at quite a few knots. So, yeah, even more pressure piling on RGC at the minute. Let's head to the capital, where obviously rugby has to be. We won't get into that comment any further than that.
Up a day if you
Uh,
want.
so Pontypool, the visitors this time, and I mean this was probably the biggest shock of the week for me. Even with what is coming in just a short while, you go from beating Bridgend 43-10 to then taking a 31-3 thumping. I mean, obviously didn't look that way at the half. It was only 5-3. Obviously Pooler got the first points of the day, so they were winning this match. So credit, yay. But Cardiff just opened up, and Joe Goodchild, that little diving try. Did he need to do that?
He loves it, man. That's his 2 tries against Ebervale with diving tries. But it makes up for having, 2 yellow cards in his opening 2 games.
Yeah, I suppose he does love a try. He does love a dive. Also loves a yellow card, apparently.
Yeah.
So just get on the right side of him. You know what you're doing. But yeah, very, very hard day at the office for Pooler. They really didn't. They didn't get parity anyway.
No.
I
think what this is showing at the moment is I said about the Bridgend result was it was very deceiving. In it wasn't how good Pontypool were or how bad Bridgend were. It was just about capitalising on mistakes, and that's where the gap came. And that's a complete sort of same year as Pontypool threw everything at Cardiff in that first half. They had the wind with them in the first half as well. That's the key thing. So like you think, all right, it's close game down at Cap. They were extremely physical, and that's what Cardiff expected. But that lack of a true front row at the moment, or a quality front row for Pontypool, is causing issues. You can't go to a quality side like Cardiff and expect to get a result. The wind was in Cardiff's favour in the second half. They upped the tempo, they upped the momentum, and they used that wind to get the exits because that's what they're going to do. And they start again on top because the set piece just isn't good enough from Pontypool. And when they play a good side, they get carved apart. Like there's already issues around combinations. They haven't sorted a midfield combination. They've got fullbacks playing on the wing, wingers playing at fullback. Yeah, there's all these sort of little things that just sort of contribute to a big loss like this. And just as we were saying, is this Pontypool getting a bit of momentum, etc., against Bridgend? Can they kick on from there? This has absolutely wiped that off the slate now, and they've got to go again tomorrow night. And this is a biggie. But from Cardiff's perspective, now it's a 6-pointer against Aberavon, 6-pointer against Pontypool. You can very quickly climb with these 6-pointers. A couple of home games as well will just help balance that out. So yeah, they'll be very up for this now going forward.
Very much so, and obviously a big match for them coming this weekend, which I'm actually excited to try and dig into. It seems there's, like we saw last season with some teams, there was a clear gap. Obviously, you had Swansea, probably RGC and Carmarthen at the bottom. There seems to be a more of a widening with these top teams and the bottom. Obviously, we're hoping Newport will come back into that. Okay, we as fans of the league, not as fans of a club.
No,
Okay,
we're not. No one gives a fuck about Newport other than Newport.
Oh, the first. You know what? I've actually been thinking about trying to maybe get some catchphrases. What there was. There's got to be ever just a random fuck somewhere, or it's one of those ones. I mean, if anyone fancies playing a drinking game during this podcast, every time Rob says it's one of those ones, you got to take, three fingers. Honest to God, it's brilliant. Not in that way, Rob, you dirty bastard. Oh, this is definitely not one to have with the kids around. Oh, yeah. I say we apologize. I apologize. Rob really doesn't give two shits.
No, I don't.
Now we're going on to Rob's favorite game of the week. Ebbw Vale traveling to what Rob describes as the best ground in the league. The Newport Shitty Stadium. And yeah, I mean, in this one, I guess you'd rather be a bottom than a top, eh, Rob? Yeah?
Yeah. Like that, no?
Oh, I do like that. I only in the last few seconds I thought of it, so I'm proud of myself for that. Yeah. Obviously, a very comfortable, easy win for Newport over Ebbw Vale. 12-5 it finished. Obviously, leading at the half. Nice try by David Thomas. Good work off a scrum. Just to get, went through a couple of phases. So fair play. You can play. Can't go wrong with that. But that first try you conceded, it looked too easy. It just really did. It looked as though Finn Baker just walked through the defensive line and then was like, made a nice 2-on-1. Was like, shall I? And just walked over the line. I mean, I'm not 100% sure who was at fullback. I would check, or whoever it was. We're not sure if it is a fullback. But it just looked, sort of touch rugby stuff, or even maybe training pad actions. Like, you get attack. That try just looked way too easy, and obviously not what we're used to seeing from Ebbw. So obviously disappointed on that one. First loss of the season, first win for Newport. Great for the league. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think you summed it up as, and it's really ironic that the shittest ground in the league adds the worst game of rugby I've seen for 15 years. And that's no word of a lie. The quality.
We're meant to be promoting this league, for Christ's sake.
Oh, it was a load of bollocks, Matt, I'll be honest.
It's like Gwent Derby, they mostly are.
Yeah. But it started off promising, a couple of good tries, a lot of running rugby. But it was just so poor. The amount of knock-ons in attack from both sides. Like the first half yielded 10 penalties between the two sides. You know what I mean? It's just constant. The wind didn't help the lineouts or the kicking game. So both of those were average to poor at best. You then add in a lot of passes thrown behind or over players, poor quality ball off the base for Ebbw Vale, really slowed them down in that first half. And the Newport defence blitzed them all game. They removed the deep playmaker role where you have got Evan Lloyd playing at full back with Dorian Jones playing at fly half. So you've got that sort of dual sort of playmaker mode. They like sort of doing the miss pass, doing your sweep wides. That all disappeared because I'll be honest, Newport's line speed and defensive structure was absolutely superb. There was no hints of offside from them for pretty much all the game. Even when they were defending goal lines, Ebbw Vale's game management looked awful. There was a part of that first half when it's 7-5 to Newport, and Ebbw Vale from about 15 yards out decide not to go for the posts. With the wind the way it was against them, it was an easy kick. It puts them back in the lead, keeps the scoreboard ticking and goes from there. And it was just wasted opportunities. There weren't a load of opportunities or clear-cut chances. And in the second half, Ebbw Vale attacking into the wind just could not make use of it. They couldn't exit. Newport were keeping them pressed in their own half. They struggled and really visited the 22. Dorian Jones missed pushed it slightly wide on a 55-metre penalty. But again, other than that, every time they would have a penalty, a chance, it was the lineup wouldn't be straight, or they'd knock the ball on off the top of it, and they're coming on into midfield, knock-ons, and from senior players as well. And it's so unlike them. But Yeah, it was a really poor affair, I'll be honest. I mean, the only good thing in this game was Newport's defence. Like that's all there is to say from a good rugby perspective. So yeah, it's one that Newport will be extremely happy with because, as you say, it moves them on. It kicks them off the mark. It's their first win of the season. It also prevents them from losing 6 games in a row for the first time. Um, so yeah, it's difficult then though because, like as you said, from the league perspective, you've got quite literally a list now of 10 teams, and everybody can beat everybody. It's from Ebervale being a top and Llandovery being Llandovery are obviously top now with their sort of points and obviously the game extra played. They're in there. They've got the one loss. Ebervale have got one loss. Newport might only have one win, but yeah, it's it is good for the league in terms of the product because I think one thing we said last year when Swansea were struggling is that it doesn't make the league look good. The gap in a 10-team league, everybody looks from top to bottom, and when you got 6 points, the additional bonus point coming in, all of a sudden, it's one of those. It, do you look at the gap because all of a sudden it's going to be a bigger gap than the rest? But equally, like I said, for the league and proving its concept that it is a strong league, everybody can beat everybody, and there's a very good quality of rugby, which there is. Then this is what the league needs is not sides going until Christmas like Swansea did last year and losing. And yes, I'm rambling on you. Martin is here he comes. He's coming back. I'm rambling on you. I'm keeping us going. But it is that one. But for Ebervale, it's very much a disappointment in they couldn't get the game plan going, and it's exactly the same as it was in the final last year. The maul is a weapon that Newport eliminated. They couldn't get it going. The defence forced errors, and I'll be honest, Ebervale lost. And then towards the end, then Evan Lloyd starts doing his kicks out of hand, and all of a sudden the crowd knows the game is gone. Even though there's just one score in it, and the game could have been all well and done with. They missed the conversion on that second try. That takes Ebervale out of a bonus point territory. And actually, at that stage of the game, removed any hope of a draw. So, yeah. Welcome back, Martin.
Well, I'm now here. If you lovely people have managed to hear whatever Rob has just said, you are very, very lucky. I have just had a power cut and I disappeared. All we know is Newport are better than Ebbw Vale, so Ebbw should really be 10th. That's all we've learned from this last game. On to our final one of the weekend, and for me, as happy as I am to see Carmarthen get another win. Here we go. Got to be done. I could honestly do it with having a Saturday without my heart in my bloody throat, waiting for that final try or final whistle to come through. I mean, they don't half know how to do it. That's 3 games in a row now. It's literally gone down to the wire. And I think the one before that, they almost bloody tossed it away as well. So, great time to be a Carmarthen fan. Not so great time for your health or your blood pressure. Really not. 17-14 at the infamous Broadacre where Swansea now playing. And yeah, it was just routine, really. Obviously, we didn't get to see much in terms of highlights because obviously low scoring games. So for some reason, Swansea doesn't think anything other than points are a worthwhile showing, which I personally disagree with. But the try to win it, I mean, it was some brilliant stuff from Carmarthen, and all 3 young Scarlets, Cameron Leggett-Jones, the 10 of the future. Like he's probably going to get a big head if I keep talking about him, I guess. He takes a nice ball. He passes. He takes a lovely run, actually. Passes it out to Thomas Williams, the winger, who makes a nice little grubber kick in behind, and there's Gabe McDonald to just pick it up and go over the line. And that brings third v fourth right the other way around. So Quins are now third, and Swansea just kept dropping down the table.
Yeah,
so
Matt,
we'll actually.
you've had a me. The sixth.
I know. Sixth or fifth?
Sixth.
Which one? Sixth? Oh, that's a big drop.
Oh,
Third to sixth in one game. Are you sure?
yeah, Llandovery, Ebervale, Quins, Cardiff, Aberravon, Swansea.
No, I'm going to have to have a look at that. I'm going to have to
is.
have a look at that.
Swansea.
No, I know.
Swansea behind Aberravon. Points are the same.
Points are the same. Okay, I've.
Don't want to, Joint
we'll
fifth.
see.
You really want to be fucking pedantic.
Joint fifth.
Anyway, I heard
Yeah,
Carmarthen Quins. I heard the Carmarthen Quins fans were magnificent.
They always are. When are they ever not? We're almost in double figures. You know, we're moving up in the world. That's a joke. No, it's just another win for Carmarthen this season, and honestly, I didn't expect to. Okay, I know I'll back them as often as I can, especially if my brain tells me to back them too. You know, we're already on 4 wins. I think what was it, 6 all of last season in the league. So we're well above as it stands. We've got an RGC side that realistically are looking like they're going to be 10th, the way we all predicted last season. And a trip to Aberravon to finish off, this block of fixtures, with our game luckily being brought forward. So it's really, really positive time. I mean, Quins could quite easily be on their 6 wins after the first block, even though we do get that extra game. Is absolutely brilliant. Swansea, obviously, a 3-point loss is nothing. And a completely different twist, just like John said last week, Swansea v Carmarthen, that's not going to be a big game to watch. It bloody damn well is now. And there was a few tweaks in Swansea's lineup. One was moving that big fullback to the wing, and to allow Harry Houston to come back at 15. And don't be wrong, Lewis Edwards, he had a real good game by all accounts. Quite a few lovely carries, got a try for himself. Didn't quite seem to work on that attacking front, like you said earlier, about moving fullbacks to wings and wings to fullback. Even though universally you should be able to play in that position, you've got a stronger one for a reason, and we kind of found that out where Swansea are concerned this week. I know. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I think both sides will be happy with where they are after 6 games. I think Swansea will be disappointed with this one because it is one of those ones. It's low scoring. There's a bit of like you're grinding out the sort of the win, but from a Carmarthen perspective, so it's not like Swansea being blitzed here. They're at home, whether it's Dunmont or not, right? And they'll be disappointed that they haven't got into this a little bit more. But just I would say Quins has surprised us all. They both have, but Quins has surprised us because they've had some significant injuries in the past couple of weeks, that are basically season enders, and that can derail, maybe not your entire season, but it can derail your momentum, and they just haven't stopped that. They kept in games. Steph Thomas said to us at the start of the season at the launch, we've got to be staying in games. That 60 to 80 minute mark, we've got to stay in games. And they've won this one late. They won the Newport game with the last play of the game. It's everything, as you alluded to, is winning late on or capitalising on things late in the game. And that's, I say, you're getting your just rewards. Like I said last week, the Swansea probably don't mind just getting the 5-pointers at the moment. Quins are on 20 points after 6 games. Realistically, they're probably going to be 4th by the time Cardiff play. I know they've got Ebervale and all that sort of stuff, but realistically, by the time an average is out, Carmarthen are probably sitting in 4th at the moment, with that 3 sides around them probably being that sort of game ahead. But when you consider where Carmarthen were last year and where they are with their squads, like we said before Quins played last week is it could depend on allocations and stuff like that. The allocations starting to blend in nicely now. They're not reliant on individuals as such. It's a nice melting pot. They've got a good experience in the squad. They've got a good grunt and a grind and a really solid set piece. And I'll be honest, I would be tempted to say that they've got probably the second best set piece in the league right now, based off their scrum and their lineouts and how they're working this season so far. But they've got the weapons to finish them. And it's not like at the moment they're full strength Scarlets every week. That's not been the case. It's not like they're loaded and then we're going to see the Scarlets boys drop off and Quins drop down the table. Yeah, there's some real quality in this side. And I'll be honest, I hope they go for a good season, and I hope we have them as that surprise package, because as much as Aberravon and Swansea are pushing hard, Aberravon I think are less of a surprise in playing well. But also, I just think we need that one team that really throws a spanner in the works, maybe gets a home quarter-final or semi-final that we didn't expect to get. That all of a sudden, you saying, hang on a minute, Carmarthen, no one's going to want to go to Carmarthen in a game. Good clubhouse, mind. Might even be the best clubhouse in the league. I'm going to put that out there. Second best set piece and probably the best clubhouse.
Yeah, it is a really tidy clubhouse, to be fair, and I'm actually hoping to actually get to a game pretty soon. Not in this block, unfortunately, but pretty soon.
Christmas game, Mark. Christmas.
Christmas adjacent. I'm gonna say it's.
We agreed it last week that we're all going to be at the Christmas games, and we're going to do a podcast live throughout the Christmas games. John's going to be 12 pints deep. Yeah.
Well, if you were happy to pay for my transport and accommodation, as long as you clear with the missus, I'm happy to fly down. I really am.
Yeah, she's happy.
You speak to her first. I'm not dealing with this. Like you spoke about Pontypool earlier, where there seems to be some disconnect, and they haven't got the combination sorted. We're seeing a fairly strong spine now with Quins. I mean, the centre partnership of Jack Howells and Gabriel McDonald, we saw it working some parts last season. It seems to have, picked up a bit now. Obviously Jack Howells, I believe he came from St. Clair's, just last season, and he's really, nailed down one of them centre positions, whether Gabe is there or not. Obviously Steph Evans at 15, he was always going to pick that up. Rodri Davis is the 9. Even though there are some, issues with the number 10 at the mid, they both are exceedingly young, but they're great talents in Ellis Price and Karen Leggett-Jones. There's no massive drop-off between the two of them, which is great. Number 8 more than often than not is Lewis Millen. Sean Evans as captain has been absolutely outstanding. Tom Phillips back in the squad again. How amazing is that? And, Reece Fawcett, Lewis Morgan, or Isaac Young. Player. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Reece Fawcett this season has been Quins' star player for me. I'll be honest. It's like he is that quality player. We know where he's been before and what he's done in sort of pro rugby. And naturally, those sort of players are going to come down. But like Sean Evans and people like that, they're going to come down and look that sort of degree better. But equally, he's just everywhere at the moment. He's getting into the games. He's doing your set piece. He's annihilating people at the set piece, but he's also getting involved in the try scoring stakes and sort of getting involved in all the sort of the nitty gritty, the hard work and the carrying. And that's what I love to see in a prop. I love to see those players who want to work. Yes, it's great. At the end of the day, it's bread and butter. If you can scrummage and just line out and etc. is solid, as a prop, your day is done. But nowadays, you've got to be a bit more. And that's why it's fantastic to see. And I will be... Maybe I'm going out there on a bit of a limb early doors here. Reece Fawcett is the best player in the league at the moment.
Ooh, that's definitely I'd say best loose head so far on what we've been able to see. 100%. Best forward, I think there's a couple of contenders in there, but he's definitely in the mix. And probably talk about the same with best player of all. He's really up there. He's shone through massively this season.
He is. He
So
should be the first winner of World Rugby's Player of the Year from the prop position. That's the form he's in.
best loose head in the world. Yeah.
Get him a call up in the autumn. Get Steve Tandy on the SRC podcast. We can tell him more than he fucking knows.
Based on the standard loose heads we got there, Reese Fawcett wouldn't be amiss. Okay, that is the end of last week's results. So halfway roughly. Like, share, subscribe. You know what you gotta do. Hype if that's an option on YouTube. Still have no idea what that is. Have the same conversation on other pods. So, as usual, we will leave our TV game to last. We've got Pooler team news. Yet to have Aberafan as we stand.
Yeah, nothing from Aberafan. Just constantly checking in. Still nothing. Shit houses.
Yeah, it's Aberafan for you. What do you expect? No engagement, no care for the fans. That's all I'm thinking. I honestly believe John and his brother are the only ones that turn up at tag. It's the truth. It really is. Okay, start with November's games. Christ, it went to November already. Shit. So the resurgent Newport go and travel to the Brewery Field and take on Bridgend. Now we have already had John's predictions through, so we are going to get to decide one way or another if we're having a clean sweep or not. And I can already say that 2 of the games we won't have a clean sweep, which is great. Probably not on the other ones, I'm totally honest with you. So here we go. Bridgend at home to Newport. After beating Ebbw Vale, they've hit rock bottom. I think they really have. It took that first Gwent derby to really spark something in them, but they've got a spark, and now I can't see them going anywhere but up for the rest of the year. And by year, I mean calendar year, because obviously they're losing to Quins that first game of January. Bridgend, on the other hand, we've already spoken about them. There's issues everywhere on the field.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't see it outside of Newport for this one. I'm guessing you're pretty much the same.
Yeah, I just feel that this fixture was probably the chance for Newport to get a bit of a run going. The fact they've started it already, with last week's win, just pushes that. They'd be buoyed, full of confidence, bit of momentum. They can work on something now with a positive mind frame. So they can work on what went wrong in the mind frame that, right, well, we've done something now. We've got our win. We can win, boys. We can do it. And it just naturally rolls off. So it's one of those where Bridgend are playing so poorly. They knowing Bridgend, they'll probably have a really good result or performance now against a really good team. But at the moment, I just don't see where this coming from. I'll be honest. I think they're in a little bit of a slump. They're really struggling. They've had some tough fixtures. Don't get me wrong, but they're in that slump period where it doesn't matter who they're playing, where they're playing, they just can't seem to get going properly. And yeah, even though this is at home, I'll be honest, the Brewery Field is about as menacing as a child soft play area at the moment. Could put Ospreys on the field with Bridgend and teams still wouldn't fear them. So yeah. This has Newport written all over it, to be honest, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is a Newport 6-pointer as well.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a shock. That really wouldn't, which is unfortunate. It's not what we've come to want for Bridgend, for the league in general. We don't want to be able to assume 6-pointers and not be surprised by it. But that is what it is. I've just had a look at Bridgend's fixtures, and apart from RGC at home, I think that is the last week in November.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to see where they get a win now, because obviously they got what was it? They have the Cardiff double at Christmas.
Well, that's just it, right?
Liverpool again. Yeah.
There's a lot of games here for someone like Bridgend who look ahead. Bridgend, we've got RGC at home in a week Saturday's time. Then once the autumn internationals are done, it's Swansea at home, but that's not an easy fixture anymore. And then, like I said, all of a sudden you start really racking it down. Another home game against RGC to end November. So all of a sudden there's a pattern here. There's a lot of home games coming out because they're ground sharing with the Ospreys. Their run after Christmas is going to be horrendous because they're going to be on the road like there's no tomorrow. They start December away to Quins before travelling to Ebervale, before travelling to Cardiff, and then hosting Cardiff because that's obviously the Christmas games. And they start next year at home to Pontypool, at home to Llandovery, away to Newport, away to Swansea, away to RGC. It's like, holy shit. Like, that'll run of 4 or 5 games to end the season. Even like the RGC game, which was a cracking game last year, actually, the Christmas fixture between those two on the TV. None of those fixtures are lending themselves to Bridgend putting a bit of a run together. And that's worrying because at the moment, other than maybe RGC, there's no side in this league that I think are in worse form than Bridgend. And if you're finishing 9th, that means you've got to travel away 4 times to win the league. Now, Bridgend can't win a couple of games back to back on the road. Never mind, bloody 4. So let's forget about that. But do you really want to risk your season ending with an away trip in the wild card? You know what I mean? That's what it comes out to.
It is. It is difficult, and yes, we have seen an away victory in our wild card round. That is literally as far as it went.
Yep.
You really, if you're not finishing top 4, you're out of contention. It's going to take a lot.
That's just it, right? Is because even if you're the home side in that wild card, you then have to travel away. It doesn't matter if you win. There's no reward in the quarterfinals because the position's already set. There's a potential then in the semis or the final for lower seeds to host the next round, depending on a lot of other results going away. But the lower down you finish, you need everything to go your way. And it just doesn't happen, right? And I'll be honest, I said this is the problem for a side like Bridgend is they're not a feared side at the moment, and they just can't put wins together. You're not going to win a game on the roads. It's all that extra process and the extra cost for the club because you're running a bus, so players got to take the cars, whatever. It's extra process and cost. The money's not coming into the bar. Because you got a home game where there's 1,000 people turn up because it's playoff rugby and it's beautiful weather, and you've got 1,000 people averaging £8. That's all of a sudden, you think by the time you average it out between you take off your concessions, your season ticket holders, that's a lot of money, that these sides can make on a home game. So there's massive ramifications all around.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, we can see teams win 2 away games, but any more than that, it's a ridiculous task. It really is. On to biggest game of the week, Cardiff Llandovery. Now this is where the split has happened. Mr. Harris has decided that he thinks a home team will win this. He's become a homer for the last 3 games of the week. The last 3 games on Saturday, I should say. We haven't exactly talked about Thursday yet. But for me, I think Drovers, like you said, Drovers like putting together runs, and they've just hit off with their best victory, as in a 6-pointer of the season, and we already know from their fixtures against Newport, their fixtures against Ebervale, when they have 15 men, and that is probably the key here, they can stop attacking teams. They've got that defensive ethic and stance, really, just to cut the ball down and do what they do, essentially. We know on transition and in attack, they can score points for fun. same as quite a few teams in this league. But the defense is what is setting them apart from the other teams, and I think that is going to be the difference. Cardiff need to get that attack flow in, and I don't think Drovers are going to let them. I don't know what you're thinking on this one.
I'm really torn because these two games last year were such a bizarre couple of games. They were played very close together. Cardiff put 50 points on Llandovery at Church Bank. And then you're thinking, hang on a minute, how are they going to respond? And this is one of those games because as much as, like I said, you got that thing in your mind about a Llandovery streak, they want to go on them. They've picked up a 6-pointer now. Cardiff have got 2 6-pointers. This is like a premium game this week. Two sides on top form. They're quality sides. They both know how to win. They both love playing on the surface. So it sort of nullifies the conditions and the playing surface advantage a little bit. I'm really torn on this one, I'll be honest. I think that, again, the Cardiff sort of performances against these top teams is dependent on allocation, I'll be honest. Maybe that's me being slightly harsh, but I'm gonna go Llandovery with this one. I just think at the moment Llandovery will be more settled. I think we're not gonna see a poor quality set piece like Pontypool brought to the park. Aberafon, we've said, they're a bit sloppy. They're conceding lots of points. That's 2 games in a row from Cardiff's perspective, but they haven't really been tested properly. I'll be honest. This is going to be a test. And the last time they faced a side that was testing them, they shipped 9 tries and had a record 60 points per on them. So, albeit away from home, but yeah, I'm going Llandovery on this. So I think the Drovers are going to pick up a little victory on the road.
A little victory on the road. Definitely 5 points. We know the tries are there to be had. Who knows? They might see that 60 point as a target and think, whatever you can do. Well, we yet to see on that. And who knows? Cardiff might turn around and say, "Oh, John, we've got your back. We're going to give you an extra point." Okay, next game up. Carmarthen Quins at home to RGC. Now, John's going Carmarthen. I'm obviously going Carmarthen. I'm guessing you were going to go Carmarthen as well. It just seems logical. But I'm seeing this game very similar to how I saw Llandovery last week, or indeed even a few weeks ago. They've got to get a 6-pointer from somewhere to start really building momentum and start going. Now, this seems like the perfect opportunity. RGC, I know they're scoring points, but it seems that, like I said earlier, a lot of them are coming off scraps. So, with the way Carmarthen have been going, how well their forwards have been going, like you obviously said, you think they're the second best set piece in the league, and their backs are floating. Everything is sort of built out that this should be the game for them to get the 6 points, and I'd be disappointed if it was anything less. If I'm totally honest, what does the neutral say?
Yeah, I'm definitely going with Quins on this one. I think what RGC are going to struggle with this is RGC feed off a lack of structure, and they feed off space. They feed off that sort of that raw energy. That quick, the ball's loose, let's go, and everyone just like runs into schoolyard rugby effectively. I mean that's slightly a bit disrespectful to the quality of rugby they play, but it's that sort of element of chaotic distortion that we see. Quins provide a very structured game. They probably are the second or third most structured team in terms of how they want to play, how they go about it, and how they actually have delivered it. It's on the old cabbage patch, the green, the grass that we very rarely tend to see now these days. And that home advantage does suit them. We're getting into the sort of the weather now as well. It's starting to get a bit cold and a bit wet and a bit windy where the weather starts changing. And again, that plays into Quinn's hands. And like you said, I hope this is a 6-pointer because they do deserve it. But also, it's one thing to keep picking up 4-point wins or 5-point win here or there. But when you have when you have those sides that are picking up 6 points, 6 points, 6 points, all of a sudden a gap opens up. So you find yourself surprisingly behind the pack just by going off it. And just by just taking your foot off the gas just that little bit. So yeah, I'm excited for this one because I'm interested to see what Quins can do now, and can they put their stamp on a game and really get into it and say, this is a 6 pointer. This is what we're gonna do.
Now that both Quins and Drovers game have gone, I can't say I have heard that there's expected to be a good number of allocations, 8, 9 each for those boys, and Yori Badam isn't far from returning from injury, so he could be making a return sooner rather than later. Really
That's going
hope
to be
so.
interesting because I would say from Quinn's perspective, he goes at fullback. Steph Evans goes on the wing.
See, I'm opposite. See,
You're wrong here. Okay.
Yeah, Steph doesn't have the pace, not anymore.
He doesn't like what he did against Cardiff, but he's just got a little bit of. He looks physical at the moment. He looks fat as fuck. Don't get me wrong, but
that's not okay. That is not okay to say. You get cancelled shit like that.
All right, and he's carrying additional timber.
That's better. That's better.
But he looks physical. I'll be honest. In all of his rugby, he looks more physical. And yes, it's the level that you play at, but he looks a lot more than he ever did when he was playing for Wales or when he was playing for the Scarlets. And this is interesting because you're going to lose a yard of pace. You really are. But you're still going to have that additional pace over your counterparts at this sort of level, or most of them. So yeah, that's an interesting dilemma to have though, and it's a good one. Like I said, I'm really pleased to see Yori Badham back, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I am kind of going because we have seen one other fullback from the Scarlets drop down in Ewan Jones. We've only seen him in a couple games. Fullback has come over from Gloucester, if I'm remembering rightly, and he went straight on the wing. Not sure why he hasn't been back. I'm assuming he's been a travelling reserve for whatever reason. But there you go. But yeah, it's looking good for those boys, and Quins are only getting stronger. Woohoo! Be scared, people. Okay, that brings us to the final game of Saturday, which is Swansea travelling to little old Ebbw Vale to try and claim the Challenger Shield. Yes, that trophy that is only available when Ebbw play at home because they're too scared to take it away, as this last weekend showed, and it was rightly so. Rightly so.
13 months and counting, ladies and gentlemen.
Favourable
13 months.
fixtures. Favourable fixtures. You should have lost it in the final last season, let's be honest. Not having it in the playoffs is a massive cop-out. Absolutely.
Oh, Martin.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. Swansea playing some really, really good rugby. I am enjoying watching them when I can. I'd like to see them a bit. I'd like to see every team get a bit more coverage, if I'm totally honest. But Swansea are one that they've changed up this season, so it'll be good to see them a bit more, see exactly what they are doing for a full 80 rather than a handful of minutes. But as always, Eugene Cross. It's so hard to not back Ebbw Vale, especially at home. And I'm sorry to say, I think it's going to be a clean sweep because me and John have both gone for Ebbw Vale. As much as I would love to see Swansea bounce straight back, yeah, that's going to have to wait a few more weeks, unfortunately. So I may as well just type Ebbw Vale into your prediction by you. Just you tell us all the good things about Ebbw and why they're just about going to win this.
I think this is the beauty of the SRC, right? There's 1 minute we're talking about Swansea winning 3 games, potentially doing 4 for the first time in 7 years. They lose then against Quins. But then it's like you can't afford to lose too many games that you'd want to win or expect to win because the difficult fixtures come piling through the door just as quickly then, and you could end up on a losing streak, which, as we've seen with the table, can move you down very quickly. Now, as much as I think we've covered off that Swansea are They're a much more grittier and physical pack than they were last year. I think the signing of Jacob Hopkins from Ebbw Vale was a very smart and shrewd signing. He's a massive ball carrier, and him and Bowden in that back row just add the physicality levels. Harry Houston's going to be an interesting one. He played at Eugene Cross last year in the game and had a good game. I thought Ian Cornelius had a solid game there last year as well. So it's interesting to see how the allocation works around those. There's not a huge amount of injury issues for Ebbw Vale at the moment in terms of fresh ones. I mean, Dylan Bartlett's in a moon boot at the moment, but he was, when he went off prior to the Newport game, so that's not going to change. I'll be honest, I think we'll see Griff Tuff start this game. He came off the bench against Newport and completely livened up the game. Even though the end result wasn't there, that wasn't because of him. So I think we'll see some changes there, and potentially in the front row as well, because that solidified, especially at the scrum when they came on. Obviously, Joe Franchi's back fit, so leave your money on first hook at the score. I mean, first try score at the score at Ebbw Vale until the team news is out, because you could have a Franchi, you could have a Morris playing there.
Could have a Manship, you never know. Never know, I said.
He scored one this season, I'll give you that. He scored one. But yeah, I think there's a bit too much up front. I'll be honest. I don't think Swansea are in a place to compete with an Ebbw Vale at the moment up front. But I think Ebbw Vale, a bit like Quins, got to keep this structured. With the likes of Liam Thomas, if Ian Cornelius, Harry Houston are playing, and people like that, they're a very, very good attacking side. They will attack well on the counter. They will attack well from deep, which is something Ebbw Vale have changed this year. They're not attacking the kicking game and sending it deep as much. They've been a bit smarter about how they play that. So that's going to be, again, an attempt to starve Swansea off the ball. But I think with there's been consistent rain now on and off the last week up in Ebbw Vale. That pitch is going to start coming into his own, and it'll be another couple of weeks before Ebbw Vale have to worry about the Challenger Shields, I think.
There we go. Well, obviously, there is going to come a time where you are worried about that Challenger Shield, and it's actually going to come on TV. So it's going to be a really, really fun day on the 27th of November when Carmarthen stroll into town and take that little cup you've had for granted.
Matt,
just rip it away from you.
See, like, you don't even know what you're trying to win. You say it's a cup, it's a fucking shield, Matt. It was a shield that Ebbw Vale took off Llandovery. We dropped it on day one and knocked one of the plaques off, and we're too embarrassed to give it back damage, so we can't afford to lose it now.
That'd be a good story. That's why you get so revved up for heading. I want a cup.
I'll be honest. Up until not wanting to give it back, that is actually a true story. It was dropped, and one of the plaques did sort of move.
Yeah, but that kind of goes down to the WRU and how well they really pay for it.
Our buddy Dave.
I know, elite performance. You give us a shield like that, it looks like a cup. What are you on about? Okay.
Hey, get a pennant now as well if you top the league. Walking around like a fucking Middle Eastern warlord. Medals all over your fucking chest, yeah.
Nothing wrong with a pennant. I like a pennant. Wouldn't mind a pennant from each of the clubs. Thank you. Okay, can I put them on the background? Well, I can hang them off the light. Maybe it wouldn't be such a blur at the top of my screen. Here we go. That's better.
Oh, I thought it was just bald.
I mean, bald in. I'm getting there.
Give it the old Willie Thorne and put a bit of a pool chalk on it.
I'll be honest. I'm afraid to cut it in case it don't grow back. I mean, look at that. Ooh, look at the length on him. Okay. Going back in time to the Thursday fixture, Pontypool against Aberavon, and we have team news. Thankfully, team news. But of course, Aberavon have got to go and be their special little selves and only put it out in that damn video format. So you can only see one player at a time. That is, I love the video formats that they do, but just put the squad in a graphic underneath, please. I
Yeah,
just
it's a
want to be
pain
able
in the
to
arse,
read the
isn't it?
whole damn.
It's also a pain in the
Yeah, I
ass
want
for
to be able to read
media.
it.
From a media perspective, whether you're writing or presenting, the video, as much as it's good, just put it into a graphic as well. I mean, the only good thing is all the subs are in a single slide of the video. But there we
Yeah,
are.
that's good.
It's a
But
good
they're always in
side.
the wrong order, though.
It's a good
I
side.
mean, it's a
Scott Del
decent.
Nevo, Cole Lewis Jenkins, Brad
Yeah, look
Roderick.
at number
No,
12.
no Joe Gage in midfield. That could, I'll be honest, he missed a significant part of last season at the
And it was
start,
noticeable.
and it was noticeable, and that's the difference. I also think their pack is interesting. Shea Smallman's moved to the bench. There's a lot of the young boys are coming through. Ashton Evans is the one noticeable experienced member of the starting eight. But, Joe Gage on the bench. Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's hard, isn't it? It's hard to go through that and
Right.
remember everything. So they got
Jordan Walters and Geraint James, the two props, both on the bench. Shea Smallman in at lock, experience there. Joe Gage, obviously, your club captain, your midfield sheriff, and Keelan Cullen as well. That they're basically starting.
yeah.
Who's starting at hooker? He's number 16. Because who doesn't just want to say substitutes anymore? One, we'll change them to energizers because we're a fucking Duracell battery on the bench. And then we're also going to mess around with the entirety of who's who. And it's like, can please someone in rugby just sit down and say, this is the graphic we're going to use. This is how we're going to lay it out. We're not going to do 1 to 8 and then 15 to 9 or there's so many now. And it's just like, people are calling them punishers and energizers and, Jesus Christ. We'll
Love
have,
it.
we'll have bloody, we'll have them called the Confederates now and stuff like that come off the bench, Abraham Lincoln's going to start rising from the grave.
What was the other side? Confederates and who else? The Union, wasn't it?
Nah, we don't care about them.
It's like, yeah, well, you're going to name the 15 something if you're going to call the bench something. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if they could just put their bench in order. I mean,
It's from an SRC perspective, and everyone's on about learning and making this league great. It's all right for people like myself and yourself who go, oh, Geraint James, yeah, prop forward. Jordan Walters, yeah, prop forward. If you're someone who knows rugby, but doesn't know the SRC or Abravan, you would assume that Jordan Walters is probably a
scrum
scrum
off.
half,
Yeah.
and Geraint James is somewhere in the back line or midfield. And the same with
Yeah.
Shea Smallman. And yet they're all forwards.
Well,
Like,
and you think Joe Gage is a tight end prop as well. So, that's an interesting one to see. But yeah, they need to come to some sort of clear alignment. And that's all we've heard a certain person talk about is alignment. I mean, if you can get everyone to pick the
this
same
is what
order on the bench,
this is the shit that Dave Redding's on about. He's gonna
yeah,
straighten up fucking
100%.
team news. That's what he's doing. Richard Collier and Abby Tierney, they haven't mentioned it yet, but energizers, that term's gone. All of our fucking tango puff, bloody special words and PR bollocks is all coming through now. They're getting rid of energizers. They're aligning the game so everybody wears the same jerseys and everybody has a 13 jersey that doesn't have a 13 on because it's unlucky for everybody at this stage.
That I wouldn't be surprised. That's the problem. I mean, obviously that
We're making
won't
Welsh rugby
happen.
great again, everybody. Welsh rugby's going to be great again.
That's
Even
actually.
ever, Evan.
I'll be honest, mate. That's quite decent to be fair. That's
Yeah.
not a bad voiceover at all. Really impressed. But in the actual terms of the game,
Oh yeah, sorry.
oof, I mean, I think those changes are going to do Aberafan a bit of a disservice, especially at Pooler Park. I know there's some changes in obviously the Pooler 23. Obviously, you and Ross are dropping down at 15. Carrick Mac. How do I say is it McDonough or McDonough? How am I saying his name?
McDonough.
McDonough. There we go. You've probably said it a few times. I just haven't paid much attention. He's obviously coming back, but on the wing, Morgan Lloyd has, he's had his week off, so he's back. Evan Minto making a return. I think some of the more interesting, selections are probably on the bench again here. So obviously we got Callum Davis, who I think he's done maybe had one appearance off the bench so far this season. We got Nyden Jenkins, it was his first game back, and we've got Hooker, if anyone doesn't know, and Lucid Prop. I want to say his name's Jake. It might be Jack. Jake, I'll go with. Wisniewski, if that's how you pronounce it. It'll be his SRC debut. So there's a few boys in there. The one aren't quite used to this level this season, shall we say. And we don't know how much rugby they've played. So, yeah, that's interesting. Usual hooker Evan Wood has had a bit of an ankle sprain. So, unlucky for him on that count, but probably lucky in the fact that they don't have many more games. The break is coming at a nice time for him. Still, I'm struggling to see beyond Pontypool for this one, being at Pooler Park, not quite as many drastic changes in the 50 and 6-2 split on the bench as well. That does have to be mentioned. So I think we all know what Pooler are going to be trying to do in this game.
Is it?
Yeah, Callum Davis is back row, isn't he?
Oh, they've done an Aberravon. This is Dave Redden needs to sort this out.
Yeah, no, it's not France. You don't put a tight dead at 23. You name all your forwards first and then your backs.
There's also no replacement scrum half.
No, there's
not. But this is the only thing for me. This is the only thing for me. Is we mentioned earlier, there's players like Pat Lewis where it's better on the wing and it's you only go your 1-9. Ewan is traditionally a winger. I know he's bounced between the two, but he's an out-and-out winger. He's not a fullback. Carrick actually is a winger. So, putting him back at 14 is a change, but to his strongest position. But, you've got people like Joe Mahoney, who at the start of the season was in a Dragon Select development team, whatever you want to call it. And I'll be honest, their midfield has been shocking. And you've got senior players like that dropping down there. Morgan Allen, Scott Matthews. Harry Ford's back, though, because obviously Morgan Lloyd finished up as fly half in the last game when Kieran Meek went off. So, obviously, they've panicked a bit there and dragged in.
That was so weird. But I've got Harry Ford was on the bench in that game as well. So, I'm not quite sure what's gone on.
They're doing us over, Matt, on these benches. They're making changes.
They are, and they're not telling
I'll be honest, I forgot to tell you what Ebervale's bench changed last week as well while I was at the game.
Oh, no, what happened?
Ryan Gardner played instead of Cam Davis.
No. Oh, my God. I can't believe that. Absolutely can't believe that. Oh, terrible.
Dave Redden needs to step in.
That's why they lost. I can see it now, not having that extra, utility back on the bench. That's why you lost. It really is, my friend. Shocking. Okay, back to the game. Who are we going for?
Pontypool. The only worry I have is, and Aberravon have played this perfectly, is we've just mentioned the strongest front row for Pontypool is starting. There's a couple of boys coming off the bench who have little to no experience at this level. And Aberravon's strongest front row, your usual front row, is coming off the bench. It's like a bomb squad. So is that going to be a swing? But equally, I just think at the moment Aberravon are a bit too open and a bit too sway. I just got a feeling that Pontypool just get enough out of this game.
Nice.
John,
yeah. So let me just have a quick look at these predictions to see if I was right in my prediction that it'd be 3. Yeah, so obviously we all went for Newport, Carmarthen, Ebbw Vale. John has split us on Cardiff, and John has split us with Aberravon. I do have to make a nice mention to everybody who listens to this podcast. Our little prediction game that's been going. Last week, somebody got 5 from 5 for the first time this season. And yes, that somebody was me. I am amazing. I did back Newport against Ebbw Vale. I did back the Quins away to Swansea. None of you believe me. And guess what? I was bloody right. And I'm now
Still fucking last, mate. You're still last. You lost last year. You had an absolute hammering.
No. I saw you. I can see when you log into my sheet and change things. Just because I don't know what to change them back to. You know, I know you've done something. I just can't tell where. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that, especially with the results that did go my way. Okay, that does bring us to what was that, Rugby post? Was it? Yeah.
Well, it couldn't be fucking Cardiff. They just blew over when they fucking shat themselves.
Yeah, I heard that actually. I think they're probably in the Bristol Channel by now. You know, that's just where all shit things from Cardiff end up. Okay. I've lost what I was now. We're done. That's what it is. So, made it this far. As always, like, share, subscribe, do your thing, comment, have a chat, send us your photos, your videos if you want to. La-dee-da. Rob, thanks for being with me. John, no thank you for ditching us at the last minute. Yeah, we weren't going to tell people that, but yeah, I'm telling people now. He literally ditched us at like 7:59. We recorded 8. It's what he does. Terrible. And he blames having children. I've got more than you, but you don't know what it's like. You got it easy. All good, John. Hopefully you'll be back next week. And not quite as much rugby to talk about next week, but we are going into, well, I don't think we really have a break with some of the rearranged fixtures, do we? I think we've got something every week. I mean, we'll have a week off, 1 or 2 of the weeks. But yeah, it's been weird. Oh, no rugby in November. Oh, we got a bit of rugby in November now. All right, then. Thank you for listening. Thank you all for being with me. And we will do this all again next week. This is the SRC Podcast. Goodbye for now. Super.